My name is Jaymes Black, and I have the honor of leading the Trevor Project and the privilege to be a part of the movement to end suicide among LGBTQ+ young people. Carl?
Hi, everybody. I'm Carl Nassib, former NFL player, founder of Raise. I'm on the board of the Trevor Project. Have had the honor of serving this organization for the past 5 years. Lucky to be on the stage with Jaymes today and to share a little bit more about our experiences and kind of round out this session and, have a great time.
So let's get into it. So Carl, something historic happened in 2021.
Yep.
You became the first openly gay, active NFL player. You were playing for the, right, yeah.
Thanks, guys.
You were playing for the Las Vegas Raiders.
Yep.
And rightfully so, you could have kept the attention on yourself because you had a right to tell the story about your incredible journey. Instead, you turned the focus to the Trevor Project.
Yep.
And you donated $100,000. And then the NFL in turn matched that $100,000.
Yeah.
So, and that led to our long-term relationship that we've had with the NFL since 2021. So my question to you is that there are so many nonprofits that you could have selected to support.
Yeah.
Why the Trevor Project, and can you take us back to what it felt like 5 years ago?
Absolutely, thank you. I knew I wanted to do it for quite a while. I actually wanted to do it earlier than 2021. And when I mustered up the courage, when I talked to my people and got everything ready to go, I was so excited because for the first time, I was viewing it as a celebration and not this dreadful experience. And a lot of times when you're the first to do something or they label it as that, you can draw a lot of attention, and I wanted that attention to go to a good cause. And having this moment where it wasn't about me and it didn't need to be this big emotional thing. I'm not sure if people saw it. It was less than 60 seconds, put it on my Instagram. And the response was just amazing. And, as we know, it got a lot of attention. So much of it was able to go to the Trevor Project. And I chose Trevor because I just cannot tell you how much I have benefited personally from the people in our community that have come before me. And I really wanted to pass that on. I really wanted to look out for the next generation. And so the Trevor Project was the obvious choice. I was so impressed by the ability for the organization to do both direct services, crisis intervention, while also looking towards long-term future solutions. And I don't see a lot of organizations investing in both. So now as a board member, I see it firsthand. We're so lucky to have you. And it's crazy, it's been 5 years, 2021, seems like 2 minutes ago, but I still get to be up here with you. And in 2021, you also had a major moment. You became the first Black CEO of Family Equality. And then in 2024, give it up. And then in 2024, we were so lucky to have you join the Trevor Project. And I would love just to hear more about those experiences, how you kind of use that to be your superpower, and just that whole journey to today.
There's something almost poetic and ironic about being a first when the majority of your life you were told that you should be last, that you're supposed to be last. And you've seen that play out in your life in many ways. The last to get picked, on the playground, the last to figure out who I was. When my peers were graduating high school, I dropped out of high school. And so you are seeing this last and late bloomer narrative sort of play out in your life. And then when you become a first, it's like this whiplash effect.
Yeah.
It's like, what is going on? And when I became the first Black CEO of Family Equality and then the first Black CEO of the Trevor Project, I understood what was happening or the gravity of the situation. in real time, and I certainly felt pride. And at the same time I was feeling the pride, then I started feeling a weight, a heaviness. And it was like I signed a contract that no one knew about. And the terms and conditions of the contract were, don't mess this up. They were, you are not only representing you, you're representing every person who's ever had an experience like you, or everyone who looks like you. You are meant to outperform and prove yourself over and over again. And not only do you have to be good, you have to be undeniable.
I mean, we talked about that.
Yeah.
Like, even now more today, the getting branded a DEI hire, where you're not even held up to the same standard as, you know, a peer who looks like the cookie cutter CEO.
And that was my
Exactly,
fear. It's, you know, how do you gain the respect of people when you are the first Black something to step into these roles where someone who doesn't look like you, who has never been in this role. So that was a burden, that was a heavy burden, and it's not the most effective way to lead because you're holding this burden. And so what I had to realize, number one, is that this whole narrative of being last is constructed, and I didn't need to hold on to that and believe that anymore. And I also had to shed this weight of this heaviness of holding these burdens. And I've reframed what it means to be first. To me, what it means to be first is to be a door opener. It's my responsibility to open the door, and it's my responsibility to ensure that that door never closes. And that the next Jaymes or the next young queer person who wants to be the next CEO of the Trevor Project understands that there's a roadmap and there's a path for them through the work that I do. I hope I can be that model for them. So, Carl, we've talked about you being a possibility model, not only for LGBTQ plus young people, but also for all young people. My twin 11-year-old boys included. They refer to him as Mr. Carl. They're not happy that I'm here with him, and they're at school. And we've talked about how you are a model not only for queer people, but for all people. And you've had some powerful conversations, unexpected conversations since coming out in the most unexpected places from people who you would never believe were inspired by your story. And I'm wondering if you can recall and share some of those stories with everyone and how those affected you.
Absolutely. I mean, there are so many. It's by far the most rewarding thing of the last 5 years is having people come up to me, tell me a little about their story. One of the funnier ones was I was in line at Chipotle, and I could tell this guy behind me kept looking at me, and I was in my hometown. I didn't know what he wanted, and so I checked out. I was trying to hustle to get out of there, and he stopped me, and he approached me. He said, "Hey, I just, came out to my mom yesterday." And I said, "Oh, that's amazing, congratulations." And he was like, "Yeah, I watched your video right before I did it." And then I said to him, "You're trying to make me cry in a Chipotle right now." This is insane. And so maybe like 2 days later, my dad calls me, and he's like, "Oh, our neighbor down the beach, she came up to me crying. Her son came out there, her entire family, and she just came up to thank me." And my dad is a frat boy football star, so for him to get that was pretty remarkable. And it's still happening, you know what I mean? Just a couple weeks ago, I was in a sports bar. I live in Manhattan, and I was in a sports bar, and the majority of the conversations I get in the sports bars are, "Hey, yo, Nassib, loved you on the Raiders." And I'm like, thank you. But it was great. This guy came up to me, and he was like, "Hey, Carl, just want to thank you. My brother came out to me because of that." And it was so special because it came from a person who you wouldn't expect to kind of bridge that connection. And I think so often nowadays, we're at the polarization, the picking sides, there's just so much of a focus on things that make us different, and instead of the things that we all have in common and that we just don't know that we have in common. And so we have to just kind of remind ourselves of what's possible, and things that we used to think are impossible are actually very much in the realm of what we can accomplish together. So I've got a ton of those stories, you know what I mean? And it's been a, incredible journey. And talking about what's possible. I've heard you speak about it, and Jaymes is an incredible speaker. I'm trying to keep up, and you've talked about the power of possibility before, and I've heard you speak about it. So I would love to hear more about that and what your take on it is.
Well, I was thinking about what you just said about these unexpected conversations, and in the most unexpected places, in a sports bar. Someone who has different beliefs, perhaps, than you, but they were inspired by your story. And I believe that one of the responsibilities that we have as First, we can use this platform to also bridge the divide, to bridge the political divide. And so I just have a question for everyone. Who's tired of division? Thank you. Who would love to connect on our shared human values, our shared humanity? Who would love to connect more of that? Exactly. And I see that's a responsibility of being a First. In fact, one of my favorite poets is Audre Lorde, and she said, "You do not have to be me in order for us to fight alongside each other, and I do not have to be you in order to recognize that our wars are the same." And so when I think about being a First and a possibility model, I think about not only am I representing what's possible to the communities I'm a part of, I think I can also represent what's possible to the broader audience, the broader community, the country, that the walls that we've been told are permanent are not. And look, I've learned that you can have different political beliefs and someone can still be moved by your story. You can have a totally different belief on an issue area, and you can still connect on a shared experience. So, I've learned that my responsibility as a First is to ensure that I'm telling my story, but I'm telling the story in a different way.
Totally.
Right, and I've learned to tell the story in a different way so I can bridge those divides. For example, I've learned to tell the story that we have to depoliticize the issue of LGBTQ+ youth suicide. Yep. I've learned that the issue of LGBTQ+ youth suicide prevention is not a partisan issue. It is a human issue. Those are the types of experiences and issues that I think that we can talk broadly about in these roles as First in order to bring everyone together.
And something that I don't think a lot of people talk enough about is giving people time. You know what I mean? I just can't tell you how much growth that I've seen over the last 5 years from people very close to me, friends, family, to where you first come out to them, you first start to maybe have one of those awkward conversations. And then a few years go by, and then you're just meeting right in the middle. You know what I mean? I've seen my friends who are, they're so stuck in the sand in one issue, and then you blink and you're still there with them. They see it from your eyes. Sometimes the expectation that because you want them to be exactly where you are right now. I mean, my older brother Ryan was a quarterback. He played for the Giants. He was the football star of high school. I was the skinny nerd, but I played more games than he did. So no big deal. But something so incredible, I live in Manhattan. My company, Raise, has powered the NFL's 2 biggest initiatives for the past couple years, so I work with all the teams. And the Giants texted me, they were like, "Hey, did you know that Ryan is coaching the New York City LGBTQ flag football league?" And I was like, I had no idea. You know what I mean? This is a guy who when I came out to him, he was like, "Sounds good," And then 5 years later, without me even knowing, he wants to coach a gay flag football league. You know what I mean? And so
he's inspired by your story. He's inspired by you, don't you think?
I would hope so. I don't think he would say that. But
I mean, he wouldn't say that, but he was inspired. He was inspired by you.
It was great.
And I've seen the same in my life. My in-laws are uber religious, uber religious. And, I've been married for almost 20 years, and in the beginning, they did not understand. They were not accepting, and it really didn't matter to them if we loved each other. It was really about, this is not what the book said, what the Bible says you should do. And over time, what they have shared is that they've been inspired by the humanity of our family, that you are a mom just like anyone else, that
Totally.
you are married just like anyone else. And I do think it takes time. I don't expect that people are always, that there's a switch that goes off. I do think that there's a vulnerability that has to happen, and people have to see that we have more in common than we don't. And I think the other thing too is that we're more than the boxes that this country likes to put us in. We're more than those boxes.
Yeah.
And if I bring it back to the Trevor Project, we are so excited to be in this space. Munir, thank you so much for having us in.
Thank you, Munir.
It's really important for us. Because as I was saying, the issue of LGBTQ plus youth suicide prevention is not a partisan issue. And what we're excited about is to connect with many of you over the time that we're here at this conference to talk more about our work, to talk about how we can all work together, to talk about how we unify, to talk about how we help corporations navigate what's a really difficult time right now. We're really excited to meet you all offline, off stage, and talk a bit more about what it means to support our youth who are having a very difficult time in this country right now. And I think there's a lot more that we can do. And again, it's really more about how we unify and how we come together in this moment. That's what I'm most interested in.
Absolutely. I mean, almost every event that I go to, I'm like, how can I engage people more about what we do at the Trevor Project? When we get the support of people in our community, of our allies, we are so thankful for it. It is, our responsibility to find counselors, to support them, to engage with them, so that they're on call, ready to go when our youth need us the most. And that takes critical funds, that takes the support of a lot of people. And so we never, ever take that for granted.
But I just wanted to ask, what is being a first, what is the most surprising lesson that you've learned, or the most surprising sort of aha that happened as you have been on the 5-year journey of being a first?
Yeah, I think how long I've been able to talk about it. You know what I mean? I was not expecting it to last more than a couple months. You know what I mean? I chose the time strategically. I wanted to, like I said, I wanted to come out the year before. I waited a year, and then have just been supported so much over the last 5 years. And getting opportunities to tell my story, talk about things, and shine a light on incredible work is something I really never, ever expected.
I love that. Well, Carl, I am also inspired by you. And Carl and I have also, you don't often see folks who look like us on the stage together, and we've talked about, you don't,
He's
right?
actually wearing my shoes right
and
now.
I am wearing his shoes. And we talked about that. We're like, we need to coordinate a lot better than we did this time. But we're so lucky to have you as a board member of the Trevor Project, and I'm so lucky to share this experience with you. So thank you so much to you, and thank you to all of you for coming to this session.
Appreciate it. Thank you.